Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Bonus Points podcast. I am your host Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy,
Carlson and Peters.
Oh dear. We had a little bit of fun just before the podcast where Ollie was moaning that I was too quiet and it turned out he put his headphones in wrong. I just feel like I didn't want that to just be a special moment that only we would live through, so I thought I'd just share
We've got it on video. We've got it.
Yeah. Maybe that will be uploaded as a short. Anyway, let's get into what we're talking about today, and that is my choice of video game, and that is the game called Beyond Good and Evil.
Indeed. Would you like me to do the Wikipedia intro?
Yeah, let us know. What is Beyond Good and Evil?
Beyond Good and Evil is a 2003 action-adventure video game developed and published by Ubisoft for the PlayStation 2, PC, Xbox, and GameCube. The story follows the adventures of Jade, an investigative reporter and martial artist who works with the Resistance movement to reveal a sinister alien conspiracy. The player controls Jade and allies, solving puzzles, fighting enemies, and obtaining photographic evidence.
Does she control allies? Did you control allies?
You kind of command them.
I guess they come along for the ride. So I've never played this game before. Like, this isn't a nostalgia pick for me. I know for a lot of people it would be. It's kind of a cult classic from back at the PS2 era. I never played it back then. I did play a demo for it, so I had like loose memories of that. But all I remembered was kind of riding around in a hovercraft, but nothing about the gameplay in particular. So the reason I chose the game is just because I like picking cult classics, and it's a game that, you know, didn't sell particularly well when it was released, but a lot of people really loved. So I just kind of wanted to see what it was. I was just curious about it.
Yeah, I'd never seen much of it. As I said in the last episode, all I know is that it had a pig in it and you use a stick, which made me worried because of what was it called? Enslaved.
Enslaved, yeah. I did actually feel like a few parallels. Like, there's a lot that could have... Not like very specific stuff, but like it is a similar feeling to Enslaved in terms of the type of game. So right then, you hadn't played it either before. Obviously, like, a lot of people know of it now because they are supposedly making a sequel, which they keep announcing and showing trailers of it in
just
different
this year.
forms.
It's broken the record for the longest ever game development time, beating Duke Nukem Forever and everything else. Yeah, I was just reading about it before you came on.
Yeah, and I feel like Duke Nukem Forever is even almost a cheat because it kind of like they almost stopped developing and then a different developer like took over. Like, this has been non-stop. Ubisoft have never cancelled it. Every time they're asked, they're like, "Yep, it's coming."
15 years.
Speak to us next year. Yeah.
15 years now, which is crazy.
Do you think it's coming out?
Yeah, they might end up being like contractually obliged to release it.
How come? They own the IP.
That happened with Ubisoft with Skull and Bones because they received government funding.
Oh.
So they were like, you have to release it, so it's still coming out.
Yeah,
they might have got themselves in the same jam. I don't know. We'll find out.
I mean, unlike Skull and Bones, though, it does look like super ambitious. Like, it almost looks like an MMO they kind of are trying to make it into.
Yeah, so it's a prequel, and all I've read is that they want to make it appealing to a wider audience.
Yeah, I mean, they got it really.
Yeah, that's kind of all the information they've put out. And the guy that's making it, I don't want to bring the mood down, but he's left Ubisoft under not the best situation.
Yeah, like, nothing's been proven, but there were allegations of just bad working conditions. Any kind of left-right as that stuff was breaking, which might be a coincidence, but obviously we don't know either way. But yeah, before we talk too much about the sequel, let's kind of talk about what the game is itself. So you kind of gave an overview, but do you want to kind of speak about, like, just mechanically wise what you're doing? Because there's quite a lot going on.
Yeah, so the long and the short of it is, you kind of get sent on missions by this rebellion group, and you have to go and like figure out this conspiracy by ultimately taking pictures of objectives within, you know, deep behind enemy lines, and then getting out. And then between those missions, you can like upgrade your vehicle that you use to get around, and doing so unlocks new areas that you can go to. And, you know, going behind enemy lines means like sneaking and fighting, and you normally have a partner with you that you can kind of ask them to do an action, you know, like push a button for you or kick an enemy or something. And also the other thing is actually as well is you can take pictures of animals. which is quite a surprisingly big part of it, which I didn't know existed.
Well, I always knew the camera was a big thing. Like the box art is like Jade, the lead character, like holding a camera. So originally they wanted the game to have no combat. That's what that's what they were going for. But then like Ubisoft were like, no, this is a video game in like in the early 2000s. You need to kill things.
Yeah. So I think it would have been a cooler story if you were a wildlife photographer caught up within the conspiracy, as opposed to a photojournalist who takes 9 pictures for the game and about 50 of animals, which is what it is.
Yeah, like fish out of water, kind of like, because she's kind of part of the rebellion, not immediately, like she joins early on, but she's kind of already like got that fighting spirit. It would have been quite cool if she was like, she's just the one who knows to use the camera, so she's just going to have to do to kind of help out.
Yeah, I'm thinking this game might be a good one to start with what we liked and then move on to what we didn't like.
Yeah, sure. Shall I start with kind of something that I liked?
Yeah.
I like the setting. I think it's like a cool setting that I haven't had in many games. Like it's kind of sci-fi, but like quite like grungy. Like it's not all like nice. Like it's not like Star Wars where everything's all shiny and perfect. It's kind of like quite like grungy, like urban, like really like culturally diverse. Like sci-fi, which is was pretty cool with like a lot of humans, but then a lot of like humanoid animals as well, all living together. And then the fact that it's that setting, and also pretty open world, where you can kind of go into like a bar and kind of like wander around and kind of find secrets off the beaten path. Like I feel like for the time it was probably about as good as it could do, like living in a kind of almost cyberpunky world.
Yeah, it actually, the vibe of it really reminded me of The Matrix.
Yeah,
like the world, the characters, like the fact that everything's green like helped.
Yeah,
but
especially with like
your
your mates, like your sabotage friends, like when you go to their little clubhouse and the way they're talking to you and stuff is really very Matrix.
Yeah, when they're not sitting there and staring directly at the wall.
Yeah.
Also, on that, my first thing that I wrote down that I liked is that when you first go into the city, it's like a wow moment of how busy it is, with like the cars driving around and like obviously the boats. And I was like, oh my God, like this looks a lot better than I thought it was going to look. Like when you pull in and you're at the big intersection, it does look like very good. Like I was genuinely really impressed by that.
Yeah, and even on foot, like the main city area, which is not very big. Like, don't get me the impression this when I say open world, like this isn't like sci-fi GTA or anything like that. But even that area is about as like like it feels lively, and I think the audio and the music help go a long way to make it feel livelier than it actually is. But it's not like a desert town like a lot of games of that era were.
Yeah, I think open world, if you think of Super Mario 64, you're on the right sort of scale and track. One of the things that I wrote down is that the looking at animals and the nature angle was like really cool. There's not really many games even now that are like that.
Yeah,
where
it's not like super deep, but like it's kind of enough. And some of the little puzzles where like it's certain creatures don't like poke out unless you press something, you're trying to like catch them, or they're like jumping around.
Yeah, there was one that like jumps out the machine, wasn't there? Like when you press the button. Yeah,
that was all quite fun. Anything else good that you enjoy?
I've not written anything else down. I'm trying not to bring the mood down.
I really like the music. I think it has a super strong opening. Like some of the cutscenes are really dramatic, and even some of there's like not a cutscene but like a gameplay sequence, like almost obviously not to the level, but like Uncharted-esque, where you're like running along the rooftops being chased and stuff, and it kind of goes to like a dramatic camera angle. I thought some of those moments were quite cool. Some of the side areas, which are like puzzle based, where there's like an area with a bunch of like conveyor belts and you're trying to make your way down and jump over lasers.
Yeah, the alpha hideout or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, like some of those parts were pretty cool. Like I kind of had the opposite to what I had in Resident Evil, the game we did in the last podcast, where that gave me a really bad first impression and then gradually like grew on me. This kind of did the opposite. Like I had a great first impression. Like the opening, like whole opening section's great, and then like even like the first level, like right up to like the factory, I was like having a great time, like exploring, going to the bar, playing my little like air hockey style game with that, and I was like, oh yeah, like I can see how this would have been great on the PS2 generation. But then as soon as you get into like the weeds of like the actual gameplay, like what the bulk of the game is, that's where the rough edges started showing themselves.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't want to be too negative. This is not the worst game that we've done on this show by any stretch, but it is the game I've hated the most out of all the ones we've done. So,
okay,
like this game made me so miserable. Like I couldn't bear to even look at it. Like the voice lines and the characters are so horrible that I couldn't have them speaking in my ear without being like, it's just already doing my head in. Like it's cool that the characters are diverse, right? And there's all like different races and species even, but like they all look absolutely hideous. Like they look like, there's one guy, Double H he's called, he's like the soldier that comes with you, and like I just don't know what's wrong with him. Like his face looks like it's sliding off, and like the stuff that he says is just so odd and like makes no sense. Every single character reminded me of like, you know, when you're hanging out with your friends and like they bring someone and that person like ruins the vibe. All of these characters in this game could be that person. All of them could be like, who's this guy? Like
they're going for like the Ratchet and Clank kind of vibe, but don't quite pull it off. Yeah,
like this guy, Double H, it just always shouts Carlson and Peters, and like I have no idea who they are. Absolutely no idea who. I have no idea what that's in reference to. Like I could probably, I figured out it might be something to do with like a handbook, but I don't know what he was saying.
Okay, like the characters didn't bother me to that level. Like I don't think they were like great or anything. But like I wasn't getting irritated by them to that level. Like it was purely the gameplay and like I mean, this is the stealth, isn't it? Like, what is it with PS2 games of that era and just always having to have like prolonged instant failure stealth sections?
Well, Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 had come out and changed the game.
And everyone just thought they could do that.
Yeah, so the stealth, one thing with the stealth that like I still can't figure out, even though I've played the game for 6 hours, I didn't finish it, is what was the camera doing when you're it's like when you're hiding, the camera would invert, and then when you're standing up it would go back to normal. So I'd constantly be crouching behind something and go to look over it, and like the camera would just like, it wouldn't rotate down, it would just kind of jump down. Yeah, but like, I can't see what I'm doing. Like you press up to look over something, and like you'd have to like, it wouldn't rotate, you'd have to like peek, so you'd have to like half hold it up. Like it was just like,
I know the camera would just go like just straight up. It wouldn't like rotate up. It would just like crane lift up.
And a lot of the stealth sections were like instant death.
Yeah.
And like not in a way where like, oh, you don't have a chance to fight back. Like you literally would just, the game would just end when you got spotted.
Yeah, and it's not even like I think if you could like sneak up behind them and just like press like square and do like a takedown or something, it would be fine. But like basically you're mainly going after like these soldiers that have like an oxygen tank on their back, and you have to go up behind them and kick the tank, or you can throw a disc at the tank first and then they start flailing around and then you got to go and kick them. But it always just feels so clunky. It's so specific about where you are and where they're going to see you, and the fact that you got to do the double hit, like the first kick always kind of puts them and you like a little bit too far away to do the follow-up. And The thing that like kind of gets you through it is that if you take someone out, when you die, they don't respawn as well. So I just did a lot of like, oh, there's 5 enemies in this area. I'm just going to run in, just make sure I get rid of one of them. And then like, I know I'm going to reset. And then I'd just gradually like get my way through them, just because I'm like, I can't be bothered to try and work out how to do a perfect run through this because it's so bad.
There was one room in particular that I watched a video guide because I was like, I just don't understand how you're meant to be able to get through this. It was a room with the like glass tubes, and then like you drop down off a bridge, and then like
I know exactly.
Yeah, I had to watch a video guide because I was like, I do not understand what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm going to put it for the video podcast. I'm going to put sped up my attempts of that specific bit, so you can see how many times I went through it because it's ridiculous.
The other thing is like, it's just so naff. Like the stealth, you kick the guy in the back, and he's like, oh no, like, his arms going up and down. Like, what is it even happening? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
What, is he wearing an oxygen tank? Like, can he not breathe the air?
I think that's what I think that's what it's meant to be.
But Double H can breathe the air, and he's one of them.
Yeah, but aren't they? No, they're like aliens, though, right? Aren't they?
I don't know.
I think they're meant to be.
They speak
aliens.
English and they're human shaped. So
yeah,
I
but that's
they
what I was saying.
people.
If you did it and they had like, because the animations are pretty good. If they had like a slick animation of like her taking them down, like
Yeah.
even if they did it in a slightly comical way and it was just an instant thing, it would go so far to like improve just the way it feels.
Yeah. And what you were saying about the combat, they weren't going to include it originally. I can see that now, why it's just like floaty, bland, like didn't really. And then all you're doing, the most exciting thing is fumbling with your camera during a fight. Like that's like the best thing you can do is get your camera out and try and take a picture of them to get the little thing off the woman. But also the camera, the fact that you got to get your camera out to throw a disc.
Yeah,
Like it's just, this game was just horrible. Like I literally hated it. Like that's why I didn't finish it. It was just making me like annoyed, and like I didn't want to spend time in the world with the people. The characters were like just too grating and annoying, and the gameplay was really annoying. And it was like after I got up to the slaughterhouse. For anyone that's played it, I finished the slaughterhouse, which took a really long time.
yeah.
Like it seemed probably 50% of my time playing was in the slaughterhouse.
That's the worst part, the slaughterhouse, definitely.
Yeah, and it's most of the game.
Yeah,
I got
it
out
is.
of there, and then they were like, okay, you need 30 pearls. Which I was like, I'm not doing
How many did you have at that point?
I had 12. No, I had 2 going in, so I came out and got 12. And then I went and got one more, and I was like, I'm not even halfway to getting
Yeah.
30. I'm not doing it anymore.
So I tried to save you because I started playing a bit before you, so I was a bit further ahead, and I had the same thing where it's like suddenly, because you're upgrading your hovercraft with these pearls, and like a lot of it's like, you might need it, but then like a lot of it I assumed is like side upgrades. Then I was like, oh no, you have to buy everything in Mama Goes, this like garage. And I was like, oh no, like because every pearl I saw I'd try and get, but I wasn't
Yeah,
like
same.
bringing up the map and like hunting them. So it's not like I was mainlining it and ignoring them. But then I probably had about like 12 more I needed to get or something, and I was like, oh, and I'd go to hunt for them, and then it was really difficult. There's bits on the map where like it would show you like go into this area and it would show like a little huddle of pearls, which basically is it's saying there's several in there. But then I'd go through, then I'd bring up the map on the other side and go to see where the pearls are, but they just weren't showing up. So I don't know if it was a glitch or if I was reading the map wrong or something. But in the end, I just managed to get every like single pearl separately to get through it. But that was difficult. The only way I got through that was by having like my laptop up and like watching something while doing it and really zoning out and not focusing on the game, or else I would have given up as well.
I feel like beyond even getting the pearls, which is annoying, the pearl system itself is stupid, and like it doesn't really make sense. Like, why make the number you have to collect 30, but then just give you 12? Why not just make all the numbers smaller so that you don't have to receive 12 in order to reach 30? Maybe the number could have just been, in that case, 18. So like what? Like the pearl system was like, I don't understand the weird arbitrary amounts that they decided. Like obviously they wanted to have optional ones, but like lots of games have done that and solved that problem. Like Banjo-Kazooie with the jiggies and Super Mario with the stars. Like obviously you can get more stars in one level if you want, and it's fine. Like why does this game have this weird pearl system that's like, I cannot make sense of it. And the fact that
it's because it requires them, because it's not like optional. Like once you've bought, like you buy everything in the shop to complete the game. There's nothing else left to buy. So it's not like in most games that would be like a side thing or a bonus thing, a way to get costumes or like upgrades that aren't necessary. But in this, it's just crucial, but you don't realize that until the very end when you suddenly realize that you need every single one of them.
Do you have to also buy every single one?
You have to buy everything in the garage.
No, I mean they sell the pearls. You can buy the pearls for 3,000 bits. Or whatever.
Oh, what, from the shop in the
like
place?
he rings you and says, "I've got a pearl in."
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, there were more pearls left to find that I didn't get, but I had enough. So
Okay.
like I bought everyone from that shop, but you could have found other ones instead, I guess.
Yeah. So there is optional ones then.
Yeah, so you can find more than you need,
Yeah.
but I don't know what you'll do with them. Like if you found
Yeah,
every single
yeah,
one,
yeah.
like because there's not, unless something else appears or there's someone else that we didn't meet who wants them.
They
I
just
do
need-
know that you can't collect all of them because there's one that you needed to get using some like online Ubisoft
Oh, I
service
looked
to
that
get a
up.
code,
Yeah,
which
I
has
looked
gone
that up.
down.
Yeah. They just need to get the whole power system and just shrink it and make it
Yeah.
or change it, because it, in the state that it's currently in, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Even as a gameplay mechanic, it's not clear enough even what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah,
And then
I think
the-
it was fine right up until it said, "Oh, now you need like way more of them." Like I enjoyed collecting them throughout the rest of the game because they're
Yeah.
little puzzles and like hidden. Like a lot of the bonus areas. There's the like the looter caves. Did you go in any of them?
I did 2 of those, yeah.
Yeah,
two of
they're
those.
cool. Where it's like someone that they steal your money and then you need to chase them down to get your money back, and then you get a pearl. And I was like, "Oh, this is a cool optional thing," but like it's probably not very optional, seeing as how
Yeah.
many pearls you need. But I enjoyed
yeah.
that stuff. And the hovercraft. There's the hovercraft racing. That was quite fun.
Yeah, so the one of the songs on that hovercraft racing was an absolute banger. Race 2, the song is so good. Like, to be fair, like I do think the music was interesting. Like I was always surprised by it, but it was interesting to the point where it's like distracting because it's so mad. Like quite a lot of the time, it's like
Because
what am
I
listening to?
loved the music, but then I knew obviously you didn't like the Splatoon soundtrack, and I loved that, and I was like, oh, is this crossed over to like the too weird for Ollie?
Too irritating, too noisy. I don't like noisy
that-
music.
That race 2 one when they're screaming like you're a winner, like,
Yeah,
as you're
yeah.
racing around, it's so funny. I'll put a during this whole conversation there'll be a few little clips from some of the different crazy songs that kind of play throughout. But even in like the orchestral songs and like some of the more dramatic moments, like that's like really like it's very very hard.
Yeah, it really reminded me of Harry Potter in like the music is like a step above what you're doing.
Yeah. For,
But the just
sorry,
quickly
go
on
ahead.
that, because you mentioned the racing, it was quite cool having that race that you had to choose to do and then jump off the side of it.
Yes, that was cool. That was like
Yeah.
a smart way. Like you need to sneak in somewhere, and there's like a little secret path that you can get through like halfway through the race. That was smart.
Yeah, that was really cool. But I mean, needle in a haystack of cool things. Also, on the power system, like the other one, the economy system is just completely mad. Like the values of things seem to be like random, and the amount of money you seem to have is unbelievable.
Yeah, you always have more money than you need, really. Like
Yeah.
pretty early on.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So I obviously finished the game. I guess I'll talk a little bit like about kind of where it ends up going. So originally when they were making the game, the plan was for it to be much more open world than it was, and it was meant to be like exploring space, like flying around in your spaceship to go to different planets. Obviously that isn't really what ended up happening, but you do end up kind of going to the moon, which is just quite a cool different setting. Like everything that you do on the moon isn't better than anything that you're doing anywhere else in the game. But it is like quite a cool set piece because the whole game you're kind of like trying to rally the support of the people against this big corporation. And it's quite nice because like you're taking these pictures of like these shady things that the alpha or whatever were doing, and then when you go back to like when it gets published, you go back to the city and you can see people like holding up banners and like the movement gradually building. And then when you're on the moon, you're like you kind of send pictures of what's happening on the moon back, and then you're in like this fight against like the final boss in your ship, but you're losing. But then suddenly loads of other spaceships show up from people that have come from the planet that you came from to help you out. And like it's like it sounds probably way more dramatic than it is when you see it in the gameplay, but obviously it was PS2. But I thought that was all pretty nicely done. But then it turns out that the villain wanted that to happen and they trapped them there and you got to rescue them. So I think that the last hour was probably one of the highlights of the game.
Yeah, I did watch the ending, so I have seen it, and I remember seeing the code on the bottom of the shoes was quite clever. That was quite like Resident Evil examining an item that you have.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing with Paige, like your Uncle Pig guy, like that part where it turns out he's the leader of the rebellion, and they just kind of say it. And it's like, what? He's what? Like, didn't they meet earlier on? Like, before he got kidnapped, they met. No one said anything. Yeah, And that was just like all like so heavy-handed, like the DVD that he gives you just before he gets kidnapped. That's like, I've always loved you, and I'll always look after you, and I'll always be with you. And then as soon as I got that, I was like, oh no, what's going to happen to him?
I think that was all about as good as you got in the era that it was released. So obviously we're playing like the HD version of it, but like this is an old game, and like they were, I think they were like trying a lot. And they had like budget limitations. Well, not even budget limitations, but just technical and like just realistic limitations. But like there were a few good scenes, like all of like the, you know, like where you start off in your house and there's all like these kids and that there, like they all get stolen. And then you kind of go back and then like Jade's talking to like the dog that was there. And she's saying to them about like, oh, it must have like been so bad for you. Like all you wanted to do was like try and like protect them. But like you probably felt like you failed and stuff. And like, it's obviously she's kind of talking about herself, but projecting it onto the dog, and she's kind of sad sitting there. And they really take their time in that scene. Like, you know, I mean, I wasn't getting emotional or anything, but I was like, oh no, yeah, they pulled off what they were doing
Was
here.
that optional? I have absolutely no memory of that.
No, I think this was after you tapped out.
Oh, okay, it was the ending. Okay,
it was before you go to the moon, but it was like further like towards the ending. Like it was attempting things in its storytelling where it was trying to be more, I guess, filmic than most like action games of that time were. Like they were trying to be like little movie sequences rather than, once again, back to Ratchet and Clank, which are very video gamey cutscenes of like camera cutting back and forth with just their heads talking. Like this was trying to do things with music and camera angles, you know, to try and make it more cinematic.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't see that. I just, even the kids getting kidnapped, I was like, what a bunch of ugly characters. Like a goat person and the rest of it. I was like, okay, I guess they're going.
I do think it is quite an ugly game. Like I can
hideous.
imagine people would like it, but yeah. It is. It's not, even with the HD remake, there's just something about it where it is all just quite ugly.
Yeah, it's like that. It's almost like the facial animation is just like not hand tuned. It looks like it's just keyed, so their faces are just like,
yeah,
like their mouths are flapping open and that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else positive to say about the game at all. So it's just.
Do you have an idea, like a guess? Because obviously it's super underperformed. Like they've never given out exact sale figures, but it didn't sell very well. Apparently the HD remake actually sold surprisingly well, they said. Once again, they didn't give any numbers. Like, considering like we got to compare it to its peers at the time, like why do you think it didn't gain an audience when it was released?
Well, what else came out around then? 2003.
Well, so Ubisoft themselves released within 2 weeks of it Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Right.
Which if you're gonna play one of those games, have you played Prince of Persia?
I have played Prince of Persia. Yeah, it's really
pretty
good.
Amazing. Like to this day,
me and Chris actually played that quite recently on his PC.
And that game really holds up. So that was kind of not great from Ubisoft. Also, apparently there wasn't much money put into to promoting it, because it's quite a hard thing to like to kind of explain what it is, because it is kind of all over the place, and it's, you know, all these sorts of different types of gameplay. Like I realize you might assume it's a platformer. It's not. There's no jump button. It's all context sensitive.
It's kind
jumping.
of like Zelda, isn't it? Like when you run to the edge of the platform, you'll like jump.
Yeah, but not as like Zelda's much more clear. There's a lot of times you're like, I don't know where to go, and I was like, oh, this random misshapen bit of machinery, if I push against it, she'll jump off to. I assume that was just scenery. Like it's yeah.
Well, I'm looking at 2003 releases, and Silent Hill 3 came out in 2003. So Silent Hill 2 had already come out. So this is like, that game is like cinematic. And also Max Payne 2 came out in 2003. So Max Payne 1 had already come out.
Yeah.
And they're both like, obviously Prince of Persia, they're both looking pretty good next to this. Why do I think this game didn't do well? Like, it's quite cool that it has like a strong female lead that isn't Lara Croft.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take that away from anyone. Like, it's cool that they, you know, that happened and they have that character. But like, I think the main character doesn't look very interesting, and they're not very interesting.
She's got green lipstick. No, that's.
I mean, if that's what we're going on, she's almost a female equivalent of like the generic video game guy.
Yeah, she's super. She's probably the most boring character in it. I like the fact that she wasn't like Like, she wasn't like over sexualized, and she wasn't like, she was of the era where it was like, this character's like a tomboy and like really like, no, I'm as strong as the guys, you know, like, because there was that kind of like, I've got like an attitude kind of like almost overcompensating kind of style, but she wasn't. She was just like herself. So that was like pretty good for the time. Obviously, that's not like a special thing nowadays, as you know, female characters are getting like good in games nowadays.
And you know, good for them, good for that character, and good for people that like that character, you know. That's good. Did you have many problems? Like, the thing I had the most problems with was the AI following me. Like, they'd always get stuck on door frames and like stuck at the foot of stairs and bridges. They wouldn't be able to get over them.
I kind of just like, to be honest, I kind of ignored them. Like, even in combat, I always forgot like that they would do anything. And sometimes they'd be like, let me know when you need a help, Jade. And I'd be like, oh yeah, you can do stuff as well. I guess I'll press it. So I kind of just ignored them. The only time when that was a big problem, and it's so bad, is there's a puzzle you'll remember. I think it was in the slaughterhouse, where you got to throw a disc to a button which opens a gate. Then you need to quickly run down to your hovercraft to get to the other side of the gate. But you need to wait for your mate to get in the hovercraft with you. And they kept getting hung. So I'd go through and I'd be there waiting in the hovercraft. I can't do anything until they get in. And then I'd miss it. And then I'd be like, okay, right, you stay right by the hovercraft. I'm going to do this again. And like, that was the only time it stood out to me.
Yeah, I had him. It took me like, you know, there's a bit where you have 4.5 minutes to get back to your car or something, or your hovercraft or something.
Yeah.
There was a bit where it took me about 1.5 minutes to get out of one room because he got stuck on a door frame and was kind of phasing in and out, like, and then I had to like just keep running backwards and forwards, and he was like, don't break up the team, or whatever it is that he says over and over again. So that was one line. There was obviously Carlson and Peters he loved saying, and the other one that I heard so many times was nope, can't do that, too dangerous to shoot in here. Like, when you try and dock your boat, and if you're not quite in the right place, you press the fire button, and she'd be like, nope, not going to do that. Like,
it is really specific for like where you need to go in order to be able to dock.
Especially as like a lot of the things aren't even docks. Like, it's like, oh, a bit of pipe. Like, where do I park? Like, how do you pull up to a bit of pipe?
Which way around do I need to be and stuff? But like, even like for the day, like the fact that you can like, you have this world, and the fact that you can kind of get in and out the hovercraft, and you can go back to like areas that you've been before. Like, I was quite impressed when I was like, oh, I missed some like pearls, and I had to go back to an area I've been before. And I thought it was going to be really painful. But even though I hadn't been there for hours, all of the enemies stayed dead, and all of like the puzzles were still solved. And the fact that you could like, because normally like, it was at the time where a lot of games were still like levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. The fact that you can just kind of return to these places and they're just like a place, I think was, you know, it was pretty decent.
We also have that puzzle that comes up a couple of times, which is the like electrical cabling. You shoot the electrical cabling. That was quite cool. The first one with the fan, because obviously it's got a rat sitting on it, so when you shoot the rat, it moves the fan. The second one with the cable, like, I knew what to do, but I couldn't hit the cable. Like, I couldn't hit the right part of it, or like couldn't hit it, like to the point where I was like, what is wrong with this? I looked up a guide and just watched someone do it, and I was like, oh, right, I am doing it. Like, I think you had to shoot the cable. I can't remember. It was something like that. Yeah.
There was one bit that I was stuck on in the slaughterhouse. I think it was like a bit when you're in the hovercraft and there's mines around, and I wasn't really sure where to go. And so I looked up like a walkthrough, and then the person in the walkthrough was just stuck on the same bit that I was. So instead of me trying to work it out, I was there watching someone else trying to work out, do things. I was like, well, I could just bumble around and bang into everything. Like, it obviously shows that it's like, it was the game design. It wasn't me missing something obvious.
Yeah, I got stuck in the slaughterhouse as well on the part where you push the gate open. So you go in between the gate and then you push it open.
Yeah.
The first time, no voice line or anything like activated. So I didn't know that I'd opened it or enough. And then I was just like trying to jump through the gap, and I was hitting nothing. And only was it the second time that they said something about the hovercraft. I was like, oh, I should bring the hovercraft up here and then jump through.
Yeah.
But that was another one that I was just like getting stuck on.
Yeah, because it doesn't really look like somewhere you're meant to go up. It's like it's just a bunch of rocks or something, right? Isn't it? Or just like random terrain.
Yeah, it's just like random terrain, yeah. But this HD remake apparently is a lot better than the first one for like the camera and bugs.
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
Yes, I can't even imagine what the first one must be like.
Did you have any crashes?
Yeah, I had one hard crash that kicked me back to my desktop, whatever it is on the Xbox. I can't
Yeah.
remember
Where
what
was
happened,
it? Just
though,
in
but
case it was.
I can't remember.
Oh,
But
I say mine in case it jogs a memory,
Yeah.
because it's the same place. Again, it was annoying. So it was a while since I'd saved. There's no quick saves or anything. It's like with one of the chase sequences, like one of the side ones where it like goes to Crash Bandicoot camera, and you're running towards the screen being chased.
It might have been.
And there was
the
a lot
same.
going on, and it just crashed out. And I was like, oh no! And then that was when I had like a nice 3-day break before jumping back in.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to say. Then what were we just talking about? Puzzles not working and crashes and stuff.
Yeah, like you said about the HD version, apparently runs a lot better.
The UI and like the menus were just rubbish. Like, I tell you what was quite cool though was the selecting letters when you type in a code, and it's like
it's pretty quick,
spinning.
isn't it?
It's quick and it looks great, but like the fact that backing out of a menu and eating an inventory item is the same button.
Yeah.
So like I would accidentally eat something, they'd be like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that. Press it again and eat it again," and that use 2 in a second. And
I always got to the habit of always leaving one of the keys as the thing in the quick select rather than healing. So because I'd always keep accidentally healing when I didn't need to.
Yeah, and the whole M-Disc thing was just rubbish. Like that, you know, when you open the M-Disc menu, so you have these mini discs, right? That you can watch DVDs basically, or you can use them to save your game. But you open up the menu and it comes up with all the discs that you're carrying while you're standing at like the terminal. But you can't. First of all, when you've got 2, you can't tell which one is selected because they use a color and not an arrow. And the other thing is when you press up on the D-pad, it quits that menu. So I was like mashing up to go up to save game, and the menu would just close. Like I probably did that on every single save point in the game. I'd press up to go up to save game, and it would just quit. And I'd be like, "What is wrong with it?" So then you go up to it, you finally manage to select save game, and it takes you back out the menu. Jade gets a DVD out of her pocket, puts it in the terminal, and then you go back into the menu. Like, I didn't need to see that. Like, I know what's happening.
Yeah, it's a little bit clunky.
Yeah, big time.
Do you think there's anything like I'm not saying that there is. I feel like you're probably like more clued up with this. Is there anything like problematic with the game with like the reggae rhinos?
I don't know, but I did think that with Malago's, like, what is going on there? But then they did have like, you know, flags and stuff. So maybe it's I don't know. I don't want to comment. I'm a white.
Yeah, like I don't know what like it is there, because like I tend to lean to like, hey, like if you just celebrate someone else's culture, like it's fine to like representation is great, but like, you know, like there is like a lot of places where, as I say, like the place where you upgrade your garage, it's all like reggae music and it's all like Jamaican rhinos, and then
they were like borderline stoners as well. Like they weren't quite, but they were like pretty close.
Yeah, and then there's also like the places you say with like the shop, which is like really like the Oriental shop and like some of that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it's like it's of its time, and I'm not even like outright saying it's bad, but like it was. Yeah, I didn't know whether you had any notes or
no.
That,
I did think the same thing, but I also didn't know whether or not it, you know.
Yeah.
If it crossed that line, or it felt pretty close if it hadn't crossed the line.
Yeah. Because the thing I did like the way how it is all like multicultural, and like I really love walking around the bar and that weird music playing, and like it had like, despite the fact it was like sparsely populated, it had a vibe, and it did actually make me like, oh cool, Beyond Good and Evil 2 could be really cool. Like imagine this is like a proper fleshed out like HDC, you know, imagine like cyberpunk but like all kind of more sci-fi with like flying cars and like all of like, you know, like a feeling of like New York and how like multicultural that is, or even London, but like in this like cool sci-fi world of like animals and stuff. Like, I would want to like live in that world for a bit and play around.
I don't know how much would the sequel even take from this game, because like you only have one planet in this game. You're not going to be a photojournalist in the sequel if it's going to be an MMO. Like, not every single person could be a photojournalist. Possibly no one else. So like, how much are they really going to be taking from this, other than there's humans and animals mixed together?
I think it's the setting. I think that's what they're going to take from it. Like, because it's hard, because a lot of like the Beyond Good and Evil like diehards are really upset about the sequel because it's, you know, going in a vastly different direction. It's not like a action adventure game at all. But I'm like, well, they can't make it to appease you guys. Sorry, there's not enough of you.
Yeah.
Like they got to
Yeah.
do something different. So I think it looks like, from what we've seen, it looks like they're going closer to what maybe the original vision was, because you can build and upgrade your spaceship and like change what it looks like and how powerful it is, and travel to different planets. And they show like a city, and then they're like, but this is just one moon of like many planets and that you can explore. So I think that's what it is.
That whole like upgrading your ship or your jet, what's it called? What's that thing called?
Hovercraft.
Hovercraft, that's it, yeah. Like, it was actually just kind of annoying having the things that blocked you. Like, you'd have the guy that just flies over you and picks you up, throws you back, but then you pick up boosts and you're like, oh, okay, I can boost past him now, and you can't. He would just teleport over to where you are, pick you up, and lob you back. And like, the lasers were kind of like arbitrary, like, I don't know,
because I struggle with those lasers, because there's the area that you can explore in the water, and then there's like red lasers around the outside, and I was like, oh, that's like the boundary of the level, because it looks like there's not really much on the other side. And so I had the ability to jump, but I didn't even attempt to jump over those lasers because I was just so sure that they were the edge of the level. And I think I even messaged you because I was scared you were going to get stuck there. I was like,
but you said first hour, and it was way further than that.
Yeah, I'm much quicker than you.
Okay, how long did it take you to finish?
I don't know, like 20 minutes. No, I don't know. I didn't look at what my end play time is. It felt like probably about 9 hours, maybe. But like I had to go back and hunt to get pearls. If I got all pearls first go through, it would have probably been around 6 or 7 hours.
I stopped playing at 6 hours. Was my cutoff.
That sounds about right then. So I probably had about an extra 2.5, 3 hours game time after you tapped out.
yeah, fair enough.
I got I had a huge issue with this game, which I know you physically couldn't have had this issue with this game. This is my, beyond the stealth, everything else we've said about the combat. I know what you're going to say. This is the worst thing about this game for me, and it ruined every moment I spent in it. Yeah. Can you guess what it is then?
Well, I think we got a comment about it. You can't invert the camera, can you?
So you can.
Yeah.
But you can, so I play inverted, so when I look down, it goes up, blah, 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 other way around. But you can invert it, but it also inverts
left and right.
The x-axis. So I was like, either I'm playing where I can't look up and down, or I can't turn left and right. And like, I like was playing the menus, and I like for ages, like at the beginning, I just kept going out the menus. I was like, oh, surely I'm misunderstanding this. There's got to be a way. And then I'd always for a second be like, oh yeah, no, this is working. But then I'd need to look up, and I was like, oh no, it's not right. And then I looked it up and just saw it like loads of people complaining, like people saying like 25% of people just can't play this game because they play inverted, and oh my god, I hate it. And then of course it's not the only game I'm playing, so I'd be playing this and then I'd go back to another game which I am playing inverted, and oh man, it was horrible. But the worst thing is that when you go to first person view to like throw the disc, that is exactly how I'd want it, where it's normal left and right, but is inverted up and down. But then the flying in the spaceship, that would normally be inverted, where you press down to go up, that isn't. Like in every way, it could be wrong. In every scenario, it was.
Are you sure you didn't have it around the wrong way?
I did not have it around the wrong way. Oh man,
it was
collar upside down.
It was Helen Wells who wrote to us about the inversion, and they also played. They've sent a picture. They've got the original game on PS2, and they're playing it. So I wonder how their experience was. We're playing that HD
apparently
version.
It didn't run well. Like we're in all intents and purposes, we're talking about the HD remake here, but apparently the original ran poorly, which I can see. It was quite ambitious.
Yeah, so they actually wrote in with a question and said, if you did another Sidekick tier list, where would you put Paige?
I don't know. Where did we put Piggy anywhere?
Oh,
was Piggy on it?
Who's Piggy?
Was he called Piggy? What's he called in Enslaved?
Pigsy.
Where did we put?
He wasn't
Pigsy
on it. We hadn't done Enslaved yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say I'd put it right next to where Pigsy is, because they're like the same level for me.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't get enough screen time compared to Double H, did he? I felt like I was with him less than Double H.
I preferred him than Double H. I liked the fact that it's like he's got his secret base with his, and he's got this like rocket that belonged to your parents, and then you
mm.
get to like, I like that moment where you're like going back to your home and you got to like solve these puzzles like with these paintings and stuff, and it reveals this rocket ship. That was cool. In terms of the character themselves, they do like a fault, like they pretend he dies. Did you see that when you watched
yeah, I
through?
watched the ending. Yeah, so
Yeah.
isn't he like laying in the middle of like a big circle of lights or something, and he's like,
Yeah, like they're on the moon in like this space, and they pretend that he dies, and then you cry, and then you walk away, and it's like playing sad music. And I was like,
yeah,
God, they actually killed it. They committed to killing the pig. But then he
Yeah.
just shows up again, and it's Jade is the chosen one, and her life force brought him back to life. And they did it, which is I agree with what you said earlier. I wish she was just a photographer, like, you know. And like not the special, she's the one that the villain's been after this whole time, and it was fate that they were all gonna meet and stuff. It's just like, ugh, boring.
I don't know if it's probably just me. I don't know about you, but I feel like the whole trafficking story was really out of place, especially with like how silly it looked with their heads poking out.
Yeah,
Like, it's quite a serious subject, you know, in real life, and in this game, it's like it's not earned, or it's kind of a reasonably light-hearted game. It kind of looks a bit cartoony, but yet they have this like trafficking story where you're going to a slaughterhouse, and it was a bit like this. It's not like, oh my god, it's so dark. It was like, what is going on? Like,
yeah, it's like the story, like the script is really dark, but it just doesn't tonally line up with like anything else in the game.
But not in like a cool way. In
No.
like a weird way that's a bit like, what? No one's thought about this, rather than like, yeah.
So when did The Matrix the film come out? Because
2000.
it's really like, is that
2000? Yeah.
Yeah, so because obviously it's they're harvesting these people and using them to kind of create energy and power something, taking
It's
their
like Scorn.
life force. Yeah. It sounds a bit like, oh, who knows? Who knows? It's like, who knows what Scorn is? Me and Ollie played that game, and we have no idea what that is. But yeah, like that seems quite similar to The Matrix. Maybe I wonder if that was the inspiration there.
Also, the musical choices were quite similar to The Matrix as well.
Yeah,
I mean, The Matrix was a cultural phenomenon, right? Like that caused a wave around the world. That film, so I can see why a lot of people would take. Also, this came out the same year as Enter the Matrix on PS2. So.
Probably, I don't know. Which one would you prefer out of those two? This or that?
This or Enter the Matrix?
Yeah.
Well, I played Enter the Matrix when I was a kid, and I haven't played it since. And I remember it being pretty good. It probably isn't, but I think it's probably still better than this. I mean, this is... There's nothing about this that appealed to me at all on any level. I mean, the fact that the only thing I could think of was that the city looks busy. Was like... You know, it's not good. And when are we going to learn our lessons and stop playing these games?
It's
me.
It's me picking these games. Like I made, I kind of cheated a bit, and Ollie was over last weekend, and I showed a note I made on my phone about it, and it's just saying like, I can see why like cult classics are cult classics. And not classics. like there's sometimes it's marketing or bad timing or misunderstood in its day, and sometimes it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is a heavily flawed game, but trying a lot. And it has endearing qualities.
Yeah, it's almost the same story though as what we said about Enslaved, isn't it? Where it's like, you know, I know you didn't agree with this, but if you know your limits, you could probably do something a lot better than trying to do everything. Which is what Enslaved had exactly the same problem, where it was almost like work within your confines, and you might do something better than trying to, you know, aim for the top. Which is
and then
what Enslaved was doing.
I think the comparison with Prince of Persia, like on the face of it, Prince of Persia Sands of Time is a super simple game. It's mainly just like a bunch of parkour and combat puzzle rooms, really, but they're just designed really excellently with like great controls. Like think of how great it controls and how nice it feels to like wall run and like chain things in that game.
Yeah.
And then this game, like any of like the, if you can call it platforming, or even like when you're running and like having to like dive and stuff, like how clunky it all feels. It's tough.
So this game, I went through the Metacritic and averaged it, and it got an average of 85 across all platforms. And like the stuff I read about this game is like glowing.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that I've been like, I just don't get it. like I don't like. They were saying like this game influenced Assassin's Creed, like what was that I read? Michael Ansel, the guy that made it, will no longer be remembered as the guy who made Rayman. He'll be the guy who made Beyond Good and Evil. Like, what? Like, this game was rubbish. Is it not rubbish when it came out?
Well, they all written in the day, yeah? Like their old PS2 reviews? Yeah, I wonder if it's just because it was, like, unique, different, and ambitious.
Yeah.
Like, that maybe that's what it was? Because, like, I mean, they played the same game that we played, like that. I mean, for me, it was like the stealth sections. Like, the combat wasn't great. Like, you have, like, this charge attack, which takes, like, 2 seconds too long to charge up. It's never viable. You always get hit trying to charge it. But like the combat's easy and you just get through it quick. But like the stealth is just like in almost every way that it could be is just bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I don't know. I don't get the hype at all. But also like maybe the gulf, as in the chasm between quality of games was less back then because there wasn't as many games. So because now, obviously, we have like indie games. You can download a game on your Xbox in 10 minutes, and there's games everywhere. There's 100 releasing a week. Whereas back then, I don't think there was as many, and it was probably a lot more effort to have the whole marketing cycle for something like Beyond Good and Evil. So you would have the previews and everything else. Whereas nowadays, this might just come out and no one would see it.
Yeah.
Like I sort of know what I'm trying to say, but like the gap between high quality and low quality might have been less then. So.
I feel like that's what happened back then. It came out and no one saw it. I bet you could make an awesome trailer from this game by taking like little clips of everything in it. I bet you could make a really good looking trailer.
Yeah, maybe like none of the gameplay.
Yeah. Oh dear, I feel bad because as I say, like everything I'd heard about the game was about how amazing it was, and and I knew it. I knew it probably would have aged a little bit, and I was really hoping to go in and be like, oh, cool, wow, like I can't believe that I didn't play this back in the day. Like I would have, loved it. Like that is what I was hoping for. But yeah, no, I agree with you. And then like I really can't overstate how much the invert thing, like for how bad the controls were, the fact that I also was like couldn't look up and down properly the whole time, because in the end that's the way I did it so I had to look up and down normal, because not being able to turn left and right normal, that was out of the question. So like every moment like I'm struggling with just like looking around.
I'm surprised you finished. There's two things I'm surprised about. One, that you finished it, and two, that you didn't like it. I thought that you were going to be like way hotter on it than I was.
I think I'm hotter on it than you. I think like the tone and like the world and stuff, and like exploring the hovercrafts, going into like the loot caves, like all of that stuff, like I was great. Like it's really mainly the stealth that is, which is the majority of the game. That is what really. If the stealth was like gone or good, I think I would be much hotter on this game than you. But whereas now I think I'm probably just a little bit warmer. But I guess we could see, like, unless there's any other questions you wanna read out from people.
We didn't get any.
It's not surprising.
Someone asked if we were going to do Modern Warfare 2. That was the other comment we got.
Okay, I guess no one else has really played this game.
No. I thought it was pretty popular. I didn't realise that.
I think it's grown. It's grown a following over time. If you are someone who has played the game and love it, please let us know in the comments. Like, tell us why we're wrong. Like, tell us what it is about the game that you love so much.
I'm quickly going to look up how many it sold, because I'm curious now.
I couldn't find a number. Like, I did a search. Yeah, I couldn't find an exact number. I don't think they were shouting about it. And then the HD remake was digital only, so no one has an exact number of that either.
Okay, well, I've found a number. I just don't know whether or not it's 100% accurate. But VGCharts.com, if you're legit, they've put 70,000 as their number.
Whoa. That's got to... I mean, because it was released on PS3, Xbox and PC and GameCube. Surely it's got to be more than 70, right?
This probably doesn't include the Xbox and PS3 versions.
No, not the HD remake, but just Xbox and PS2, right?
Yeah. 70,000. But, some games don't perform very well. And like
Yeah.
they do a lot worse than that. So,
And then they spend 15 years making a sequel for the game that wasn't very popular.
yeah, I always feel like they'd be better off just dropping the name and making it entirely its own thing, you know?
It's not a catchy name, like, and it's the name of like a book as well.
Yeah, so I wondered if it was anything to do with the book.
I'm sure there's like maybe like tones that are like similar, but I mean it's not. Like I don't think there's a talking pig in the book.
No, probably not. Also, the name
Yeah.
doesn't really have anything to do with the story, does it?
I'm sure like someone could argue it relating to something, but it doesn't seem like like you never make a moral choice like in the game, which
Yeah.
I feel like might be the expectation with the name.
Yeah,
right then,
it does
shall
have.
we,
Sorry, just quickly, it does have dialogue options there, doesn't it?
like it
I-
has like you can talk through like things. It doesn't really affect anything, right?
Yeah, I did not exhaust any of those, so
No.
I don't know. Yeah, we can list it now if you like.
Yeah, let's put it on the list. Okay, then. So this is going to be the 26th entry on the list.
1 year,
Oh, is this the? Oh, this is the
52
special
weeks
game.
a year. 26
Yeah.
is a 1 year. Yeah,
Well, what a way to celebrate.
what a way to celebrate.
Okay then. Well, do you wanna go first and kind of slot it in somewhere?
Okay.
Um.
Well, for me, it's pretty easy. It's 26.
Oh,
So-
you said it's not the worst game that we've played.
But it's the one
You
that
liar! You
I've
liar!
hated the most. The thing is with Ty, the Tasmanian tiger, is it has a lot of the same problems as this game, with like the camera and controls and stuff. But it doesn't ask very much of you. You just kind of run to the end. Whereas this game
Yeah.
asks so much of you, it makes it just much worse. Also, the characters in Tasmanian tiger were like a bit funnier because they're Australian. So there's two reasons why.
That's so funny, like, because I think back to like when we're comparing like The Last of Us Part 1 and Part like 2. And
Yeah.
like the discussions we're having like between like, well, this one's like about hate and this one's about love. And
Yeah.
The reason we're picking between the bottom of the list is like, well, they had funny accents. Like
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Potter, Ty, and Beyond Good and Evil are three sides of the same coin, if that's a saying. They're all quite the same sort of era. Controls are the same sort of mess. Ugh. That's all I can say. So
The thing is, though, is I see Tom quite a lot, and I really enjoy chatting about how the fact that his game's at the bottom of the list. I don't know if I want to lose that.
No, because there'll be a new thing to say. Oh, there's something else at the bottom of the list now. Something you'll love. You might even love it.
Yeah, I think the thing, like, I feel like there'll be more people would be like, not that I'm saying this would affect my decision, but I think there's more people that would be upset. Like, I think this game's more beloved than Ty.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean they're making a sequel for 15 years for a reason.
Yeah. I think that like Beyond is so much more ambitious. Like the thing with Ty is like it's absolutely like more fun. Like it's like it isn't a frustrating game. It's
Yeah.
just like it's boring because it's so generic and it's just kind of, I wouldn't say ripping off, but it's just
Crash
almost
Bandicoot, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just all of the games of that era, but worse than all of them.
Yeah.
So but Beyond Good and Evil is like ambitious and it's unique, but like playing it, the actual playing through it is like way worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to weigh up, like, not even trying to convince you, but just in my mind, like, what are we going to give credit to? Like, not being really bad or not trying much.
Based on what you just said, you said Ty was just really boring. I think that Beyond Good and Evil is really boring and also really frustrating.
I don't think it was boring. Like, there's nothing. Well, name like a similar game to it.
What, to Beyond Good and Evil?
Yeah.
Any of the Collectathon 3D games? You don't have a camera?
No, because they're not. Because it's not really it's got like this open world, as you say. It's got the dialogue options. It's got like
well,
the
it has an
hovercraft.
open
It's
world.
got the whole camera
it has
mechanic.
It has Mario 64 open world. It doesn't really have like a.
Obviously it's not a huge open world, but like from once you can go everywhere, you can always go everywhere and return to places. You can choose, I'm going to do a race now or do a race later. Like it's
Is that not boring? I can choose
No,
if I do a race now and do one later.
I'm saying that's different compared to it's like comparing it to Ratchet and Clank and
Yeah, it doesn't stop it being boring. It doesn't
stop
stop it being boring. It was so so mind-numbingly boring. Like, how long do you just sit in your hovercraft, like going along a huge open water with absolutely nothing there? And then what's even worse than that is when you get interrupted by aliens. It's not like, oh great, something's happening. It's like, oh god, something is happening. I don't want it to be happening. Like, it is that bad a game. Like, definitely for me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but definitely for me. I don't want to see this game ever again.
Yeah. You know what? I'm close between the two. I could have gone either way. I'm going to agree with you for it to be 26th because of the inverted camera thing. Like, if it would have been 25, like that inverted thing should be at least able. Can we put it at 27 and leave a gap at 26?
We can, yeah. We can put it at 30 if you want.
Because I feel like that inverted thing should dock it at least 2 spaces because it was brutal. And like, you can almost forgive it for back in the day because, I mean, almost forgive it because they were still kind of working out camera stuff.
No, this was way too far beyond that.
I know.
2003 is way too far beyond that.
I said almost forgive it.
Yeah.
But I played the HD remake. They could have changed that in the HD remake, right? They could have added that as an option. Like,
especially
even if
because they changed things. They did change things. So
yeah, like that could have been done. Even they don't even need to dig into the code. They could literally just write something to be like flip it. You know, don't even give like a separate option when you load up or something because like that was a chance to fix that.
Yeah.
So Beyond Good and Evil is now at 27 on the list. There's a gap at 26.
Yeah.
And then Ty is still at 25.
So no matter what happens, probably for the foreseeable future, Beyond Good and Evil will be the worst performing game we've ever had. Because nothing else is going to go down with a gap above it.
No, I mean, something can fit, slot into the gap at 26. I mean, if there's something worse than Beyond Good and Evil, we put it at 28 and we leave the gap at 26.
Exactly. So it's like nothing can perform worse than Beyond Good and Evil did. And the day that it arrived, it was so far off the bottom of the list, we had to leave a gap. Nothing else is ever going to be that bad. I'm very impressed that you finished it. Very impressed that you finished it.
It was for the podcast. I'm dedicated.
I mean, I'm somewhat dedicated. Although, to be fair, actually, no, I was pretty free because my girlfriend was away on holiday for a week, so I had a week.
You can't even moan because we played Overwatch 2 together while we both could have been playing Beyond Good and Evil. So you had time. I mean, it's like this podcast, like we do this for fun. Like this ain't our job, guys. So it's like if a game is just so not fun, we won't. You know, we can skip it because that doesn't really benefit anyone. But I think I realized this was going to be like a bottom 3 of the list, and I was like, if I want to finish it so no one can point any fingers or any arguments that we didn't give it a fair shake, like we played it to its completion. I saw what there was to do in the game. I collected 70 orbs or whatever it was, pearls. Like I did the thing. I did what you're meant to do, and I didn't like it.
Mate, it was bottom 3, 2 below Ty. The bottom 3 are now Ty, nothing, and Beyond Good and Evil.
I love that. Should we put anything? And then should we just leave it as a gap then, or do we?
We'll leave it as a gap now. Yeah, for now.
Okay.
I mean, the upcoming games are looking pretty good. So,
tell us more.
Tell us more, indeed. So there was that game that we got word of today that we might not be able to do. That's probably about as much as I can say without spoiling.
Yeah, we hadn't announced that anyway. I don't think.
Do you want to announce it now?
No, because we're not going to, because that's not till January anyway. So if it is coming out,
okay.
So I guess we can leave it.
So next episode, we are doing Skyrim with a guest. That's coming out on the 18th of November.
Yep. Oh yeah. I saw his little look there. There's a lot of people been guessing who the guest is for the Skyrim episode. I will say it is someone who I have done YouTube videos with a long time ago, but she might not be who some of you have been guessing. So stay tuned to find out who it's going to be. Like, I promise you with this one, it's going to be a fun episode. Like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with this guest that hasn't been just a fun conversation. So there's no way this conversation is going to be a fun one. And it's Skyrim. Like, this is this is a biggie. So definitely come back for that one.
Quite looking forward to my 2 weeks of Skyrim. And then after that, we have Frog Detective for Frog Month.
Yeah.
Festive Frog Month.
on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass.
Coincidentally, just come out. PC only, right?
PC only indeed. Which I found out it does actually run on a Mac, but you can't play Game Pass games on Mac, which is kind of annoying.
Ah, that's annoying. I guess, yeah. I guess with PC Game Pass, would that include you could cloud stream it somewhere?
It has to be specifically a cloud streaming game. I don't know if it is.
Oh, yeah.
But you can buy the whole. You can buy. So it's a game in 3 episodes, and we're going to do all 3 episodes. And you can buy all 3 of them on Steam for a tenner.
Yeah. And each episode will be like about or less than an hour, so it's not it's not a big investment. So if you have any interest with playing that with us, and it's a point-and-click adventure game, look up a trailer. It looks like really fun.
And then after that, for Frog Month, once again, we have Caro Blaster, which is on the Switch and PC and mobile, which is a 2D platformer. That's also pretty short. I think it's about 6 hours. 5 or 6 hours long,
and pretty affordable. It's often going on sales at different price and stuff. So check it out. I'm sure you could probably get it for less than a $5.
And I think that's as much as we've ever said.
Okay. Do we have anything else committed after that, or is it that?
We do. Yeah, we do. We do have another one committed.
Yeah. Should we do one more?
Okay. So I leave a gap in case you want to cut it out.
You can, I don't know what it is. I've completely forgotten. So I kind of want you to say because I'm excited.
It's Half-Life Alyx.
Oh, is it straight to the next guest? Of course it is.
Yeah. So we got Skyrim with a guest, 2 Frog games, Half-Life Alyx with a guest.
Oh, no, absolutely. We should definitely announce that to give everyone time to go out and buy a headset, a VR headset, so they can play along.
Yeah. So that episode will be coming out on January the 13th. And then after then, we're in question mark territory because we're not sure what's going on.
Okay, so that should give everyone plenty of time to get ahead, pick if any of those, which ones you want to play along, if you want to join in the conversation with us. If not, if you just want to carry on listening, then you are welcome to do so. I just also want to shout out that we have been continuing our little mini-series of counting down our both personal top 20.
Yes.
As I am recording this, there's 2 episodes up. By the time you're watching this, there's a good chance 3, or if not all of them, are already out. So if you want to find out, no compromises, no having to meet in the middle what games we think are the best games of all time, feel free to go and check them out.
I also have an announcement. Exciting. Ooh. Get ready for this. I am going to be on Drunken Horror on their next, I think in the next episode after this comes out, I'm going to be on. So recording that with them this week. And
so if you don't know what Drunken Horror is, that's the podcast that Alice, who was with us for The Last of Us, if you remember that one. So if you enjoyed that in the conversation with her and you haven't checked out their podcast yet, the one with Ollie is probably a good one to check out.
Yeah, I'm doing Mulholland Drive is my choice. So if you've seen that, then come hang. And I think that's everything, isn't it?
Okay, brilliant. Thank you everyone so much for either watching or listening to this podcast. You heard what games are coming up soon. Hopefully we will join you in them. There's also been a bunch of like really wacky videos on the channel. A lot more box art ones, a lot more green screen stuff. There's some fun live action best of threes with me and Ollie messing around and being silly in my garden. So for those of you that enjoyed those videos, definitely go and
that's not going to be out for ages, that one.
I know, but we'll keep them coming back and checking.
Yeah, I've got a big bruise. It probably will look rubbish on video, but you can't really see it. My arm's gone like yellow, like all up here from the best of 3 activity.
Ooh.
So
we can try and work out what
elbow
Ollie was
drops.
doing to get that bruise. But apart from that, that is the end of this one here. So thank you all so much for watching or listening, and we will see you all later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.